Hello Internet, and welcome to Xifeng Plays Fuel. This is kind of an interesting episode because this is the first game that I ever wanted to Let's Play, and it took me a long time to kind of learn how to use my equipment well enough to be able to actually do an episode on this game. So I finally gotten things worked out, and I think this is going to work, so I'm really glad to be able to do this. This is a open world driving game, kind of physics-based off-road driving from, I believe, 2009. It was pretty poorly received critically for reasons, some that I agree with, some that I don't. But this game kind of has a lot of things that I really like in games, and it became a favorite at a time when I was really sort of coming into my own and starting to understand what games I liked and what I liked about games and what I wanted to see more of. And kind of when I decided that I wanted to have a channel to begin with was, well, to start out, I only watched Nerd Cubed. Was the only Let's Player that I followed at the time. And that was kind of my introduction to the idea that Let's Plays were a thing that could be entertaining. And one of the things that he did was, for one of his subscriber specials, actually for a couple of them. For one, he did Desert Bus, which is the most boring game ever made. Another one he did Euro Truck Simulator, which is another open-world driving game. And, his style normally is this very kind of heavily edited, very kind of slickly produced comedy videos. But for these subscriber specials, he just did this sort of drive around and talk thing that was very different and had, a totally different feel to it. And that was kind of my first introduction to the idea that there was a different way of doing Let's Plays, that you didn't have to do it as this very slick, heavily edited thing, and that it didn't have to be just pure comedy, that there were other reasons to watch things besides humor, which I kind of knew already, but hadn't really figured out, the market forces behind that. So I kind of, from that, got the idea that I wanted to do kind of a video of me driving around in this open-world driving game that I love, and just kind of talking about stuff. And I wasn't really sure at the time what I was going to talk about, and I'm not entirely sure just yet what all I'm going to talk about, but I figure, now I actually have the opportunity to make this. I want to make something of it. So that was kind of my introduction to the possibility that I could make a Let's Play at all, that I had what it takes. And of course, between then and when I actually started this channel was probably about a year, and it was a really big year during which I really kind of grew up as a gamer. I talk about 2013 as kind of being the year that I really came into my own and learned what it is that I personally value most in a game. And it was also kind of the year that I really seriously started watching a lot of Let's Plays. I started watching the Yogscast, I started watching Rockley Smile and Northern Lion. And Rockley Smile was another real watershed moment for me, because his channel was the first channel that I'd come across that was just completely not focused on comedy at all, that was really just about watching games and talking about them in a way that really fit kind of the way that I think about games and the way that I approach reviewing and commentary. So Rockley Smile's channel was kind of the moment when I went from thinking, okay, this might be something that I can do, to, oh, hey, there's, actually a place for me in this world. And I'm going to actually switch to a vehicle more suited to off-road since I have run out of road. So I'm going to grab this. Psychotic Fox is my other favorite vehicle that I've unlocked so far. and it's kind of the best off-road vehicle. It really has very little traction, though more than the Bullet, which is kind of the paved road vehicle that I like. But I really like this one because it kind of skates around. So yeah, I saw Rockley Smiles stuff, and I saw this kind of approach to games that really fit with the way that I approach games. And so that was kind of the point where I said, okay, now I need to actually figure out what games I'm going to do and start practicing and trying to record. And that was when I started finding out that, Fuel is a very difficult game to record because it's not optimized especially well, and it has an enormous open world. So my computer is not quite up to the task of recording it at best settings, and so, it's not going to look great because I have the settings turned way down, and even then, I can't record it as well as I would absolutely like to. But, in the future, I might get, better equipment and be able to do better videos on this game. But, I finally figured out that I could do this, so I figured, it was time to. So, these NerdCube videos of just him driving around and talking were a pretty big influence on the way that I started out approaching Let's Plays. And so, I really wanted to do this video as kind of a way of acknowledging that and looking at games from a different perspective from how I have been looking at them on this channel, because, I've been talking a lot about the joy of challenge and playing a lot of very difficult games. This is a difficult game if you play the races. They can be pretty tricky. There are lots of things you can do in this game, that have challenge to them, but it's an open world game, and it is very much a sandbox game where you can kind of decide what you want to do at any given time, even to the point that it will let you quit out of a race, midway through and just go into free ride at any time, and you can teleport to any of the races and challenges that you want, which I really like, and was kind of a really big influence in how I started looking at games and how I started developing my kind of strong opinions about player choice and player power. And so this game, is very suited to a lot of different kinds of play. And I understand why it didn't get that great of a reception, because, the races, not especially well done, and the open world is, it's really big. It's one of the biggest open worlds of any game. I think only Daggerfall, at least when this came out, only Daggerfall had a bigger open world. I think now there's games like Acronauts that have a bigger open world. And there was a DOS game called Not This that was like a space exploration game. But as far as like games with a fixed bounded open world of, places to see and things to do, this game is like many, many miles across. It's many times bigger than the Just Cause map. And so it's a great map to kind of just drive around and see what there is to see and kind of relax. And it got panned a little bit because, it is kind of a boring game. It's not, there's not a lot of stuff for how big it is. It's mostly just, you see these forests and... Oh, that was a mistake. Let's see where that actually landed me. Okay, I want to go left here at this fork. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. So yeah, it is kind of a boring game. Like, there's not very much to see, though these windmills I've never seen before are pretty cool. But, it's very samey. It's a lot of just these kind of grassy, scrubby hills and forests. And these, things like this that have a little bit of character to them are actually fairly far apart. And it can take a long time to drive from one mission to the next. And so, a lot of reviewers are saying, what's the point? I'm just teleporting from mission to mission. But this kind of gets into my thing of, I like boring things. You know, this is something that I talk about sometimes, you know, in my day-to-day life. I don't think I've really addressed in my videos because I am kind of afraid of making a boring video. And I know that a lot of the things that I like are things that people consider pretty boring. And that's partly why I stopped doing the Cubic Castles videos, is because I realized that kind of my way of playing that game was too boring for me to justify to myself when I was kind of planning out what I was going to do and, you know, deciding how I was going to make those videos. And I wasn't coming up with enough novelty to really justify those videos to myself. But what I've realized kind of since then is that, you know, I'm not going to escape this kind of sense that I like boring things and this taste for things that are kind of static and unchanging and not novel, and that's all right. That's something that I really enjoy, and that it's okay to enjoy those things. And I've reached a dead end, so I'm actually going to see if I can find my way back to a road, like a proper asphalt road. So, you know, this is a boring thing that I really love. It's, you know, a big, wide-open game that I can just drive around in and relax. And I think that's part of why I say I like boring things, is I like relaxing things. I like things that are kind of calm. And, you know, I don't always like surprises. I don't like being even pleasantly surprised sometimes. I would rather just kind of see what I'm expecting. You know, I read a lot of webcomics that are kind of the same thing every day, and I have this sort of warm feeling that is often criticized in the comics industry because it's seen as what's holding newspaper comics back, is that people want these kind of safe, undemanding things that, you know, don't challenge them and don't surprise them. But I think that there's a certain amount of value in that. And that's, you know, why this game is, to a big degree, a really important game to me, is because I can kind of go out and just see stuff. And it looks great. You know, I don't get tired of seeing forests and snag forests and fields and scrublands, and there's enough variety here that I don't ever feel like I'm just totally being, you know, seeing the same thing over and over again. And, you know, I can't drive. I don't have a license. I went through driver's ed and I did okay, but I don't have the kind of prolonged concentration that you need to, you know, be a commuter every day. And so I was never able to get my license. I was never really able to become a driver. And so this game is a way that I can have some of the little fringe benefits of driving without actually having, you know, the whole thing, without being able to have, you know, everything that is contained under the label driving. And so that kind of gets into another thing. You know, I always talk about games. What I value in games are kind of the joy of motion, which this game has in spades, and then the joy of challenge and of frustration and of growing and learning, which this game has a little bit of, though that's not really like a major reason why I like it. I'm going to switch back to the other vehicle now that I'm back on the pavement. So what this game has that the other games on this channel don't have as much is the kind of augmented imagination thing that, like, I can't drive. I'm not going to be able to go on long road trips, you know, unless I go with somebody who's willing to drive the whole way, which, you know, I can't really ask people to do that very often. And, you know, it's it's something that's difficult to ask somebody to do at all, unless it's, unless it's very much something that they want to do as well. So, in terms of, like, the freedom that a car affords and the ability to go out and explore in the way that this game lets me explore, I don't get to have a lot of that, and, I know that there's a lot that I'm missing. I can't pull over at a Vista, get out, walk around. I can't go walking. I can't go actually meet people. I can't, see really different parts of the country this way, or different parts of the world this way. I know that I'm missing a very large part of the world, and a very large part of the driving experience. But this game allows me to kind of augment my imagination to have a little fragment of the things that I can't have. Even if I can't have the real experience, I can have this little cheap substitute. And it's better than nothing. I'm really glad that it's something that I have. And, better than nothing kind of sells it short, because it's a really good thing. I really like being able to do this, being able to see a world that's much larger than I can ever see all of it, and to be able to go out and explore it, and drive around, and have that kind of joy of motion in this big, open space. And this lets me do things that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise, I don't get hurt if I crash into things. I don't get punished for taking risks. And so this game very much allows me to enjoy kind of the ideas in driving, the idea of driving without being able to experience the reality of it. And I really appreciate that. And I think that that's something that games are really good about giving people, is when they can't have certain experiences, giving them just the tiniest little taste of it, the kind of, well, here's a little idea of what you might be missing. Because, it's good, it's all good, One scoop of sugar, you can say, well, it's not 2 scoops of sugar, yeah, but it's still a scoop of sugar. Though, scoops of pure sugar are not really as appealing as they were when I was, a teenager. It's amazing, kind of, when I was a teenager, the amount of pure calories that I would just scoop into my mouth and just love it. And now, I don't know, like, sweets kind of make me feel not so great anymore. Which is kind of good, because, it's better for me to eat vegetables. And now, like, I eat vegetables and drink seltzer water and go, man, this is luxury. Which is, a little odd, but I enjoy it. I love it. I used to think, when I was younger, I used to see people kind of going, oh, this healthy thing is... I'm gonna need to focus on my buttons a little bit to, switch vehicles properly, because maybe I'll try one of the bikes for a while. Anyway, so I'd hear people talk about, oh yeah, there's nothing as luxurious as a good salad, and I'd be like, oh, you're just kidding yourself, you just can't have cake and ice cream anymore, and so you're telling yourself that this is luxurious. But man, I sit down with a big salad and a seltzer water, and I'm like, oh my god, this is wonderful. This is living. So, the phases of life, you go through them, they change. It's really incredible. Now, where actually am I going? I think I'll go this way. So, yeah, this game, I guess, kind of ties into that pretty well, because this is something that does not have a lot of the flash of a lot of the other games that I play. And it can be kind of hard to see why, where's the luxury in that? Where's the joy? Because it's easy to confuse excitement and joy sometimes. At least I find it easy to confuse them. And I think that that's why I kind of had a lot of trouble getting my channel started to begin with, is because it took me a long time to figure out, like, you know, that I know that there's a difference between humor and entertainment, and between excitement and entertainment. But it took me a while to, you know, I needed to really see examples of that to be able to go, okay, you know, this is what I'm thinking about when I think, oh yeah, you know, this is entertaining, yeah, this is what I want to make. I want to make something that's entertaining, but, you know, I don't want to be humorous, I don't want to be, you know, I mean, I do want to be exciting, I do want to do, like, really skillful things, but I know that I'm not very skilled at video games. You know, I mentioned I came to gaming very late in life. I think I was 23 before I really picked up a video game and went, okay, I'm going to get good at this. And probably, you know, not until the last couple of years have I actually learned how to get really good at a game. And so, you know, it's this constant growing process, but it's going to be a long time before I'm able to, you know, make videos showing, oh, look how good I am at this game. And I know that I'm, you know, better than a lot of people. There's a lot of people who can't play the games that I play, and a lot of people who don't play the games that I play. And, you know, I may be able to do things to impress people, and I'm really glad that I'm able to do that when I am. But in terms of, you know, I'm the first person who watches any of my videos. You know, I have to edit them, I have to upload them, and I don't really think about, you know, I don't think about what my audience is going to see. I think about what I'm going to see, because I'm not really that great at looking beyond myself and kind of projecting outside of myself. It's something that I'm working on and trying to get better at, but, you know, it's a long growing process, and in making this channel, it's very much kind of, I'm still very much making these videos for me. And so when I talk about, okay, when I think about what am I going to actually make that's going to be entertaining, I kind of have to think about it from the point of view of not being especially exciting, not being especially impressive, but being warm and inviting. And I think that that's kind of what has dictated my approach, and I haven't always been able to stick to exactly how I want the channel to be, but really kind of my guiding light has been something one of my friends said right when I started the channel was, you could be the Mr. Rogers of Let's Plays. And, you know, I think that Rockley Smile already kind of has that title. I mean, I love his stuff, and I find his stuff incredibly warm and really charming in that way. But that's kind of, that idea is what I have held out as something to strive for, even as I've gotten distracted and gotten off track and, you know, done other things. That has kind of been where I've been wanting to go. And, you know, the other thing that has kind of been my guiding light is, you know, those Desert Bus and Euro Truck Simulator videos as kind of another facet of that, of, you know, going on this adventure and talking and just having a conversation. You know, when I talk about kind of the craft of Let's Plays with people on the Let's Play subreddit, I'm always talking about the personal connection, because that's what's really important when I'm watching a Let's Play. And I think this is really pertinent as I'm, you know, kind of trying to reboot this channel and refocus it and recommit to my values, is that it's really, for me, when I watch a Let's Play, it's not about seeing someone be really good at their game. It's not about seeing what the game is. I mean, it's useful for that. It's really nice to be able to look at a game and see, do I want to buy this? But, I watch the same games over and over. I've seen probably 100 episodes of Northern Lion Plays The Binding of Isaac at this point. Why do I come back? Not because of the game, it's because of the people who play the games. And so that's something that I really want to keep in mind as I'm running this channel, is that, the personal connection is really what Let's Plays are about to me, more than anything else. And so keeping that personal connection in my videos is something that I really want to strive for. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I've gone on for quite a while and driven quite a ways, which is really what I wanted to do, and so I feel like I've accomplished my goals, and I'm kind of running out of things that I want to talk about immediately. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I would love to hear, your thoughts about, if you enjoyed the video, what you think, if you have any thoughts about any of the things that I've talked about, if there's anything that you'd like to hear me talk about in the future. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, because that really does help out. If you find yourself coming back and wanting to see more of these, please do subscribe. And, more importantly, and most of all, have a great rest of your day.